Alright, everybody, this guy is somebody that I know. I met him a while ago. He's going to demonstrate this emote style. We've been talking about emote, which is another form, or it's another form of roleplay fighting, but it's not T1 fight. That's what he was saying. He was giving a little bit of explanation, and he was saying that the style it's kind of like turn-based logic, or the turn-based logic that I explained in I think the previous videos or another video I just made, and it's kind of like the fighting style in my old site AirG. So I think this is what it is. Here's the post right here. I already kind of read it, but I didn't read his post right here. It says so in this setup here, if someone comes at me, I can just justify spotting a perception and having feasible means of responding quickly. I've also established him with a weapon, sturdy location, place him in case. I placed him in what? In this case, this could be considered emote strength, and as it was made mindful and with intention, it was appropriate to the situation. Maybe. Okay. So I guess he was saying, well, if you look at his post, he was talking about that emote strength is pretty much putting in character or mentioning certain things that can obviously benefit in a fight. You don't have to go above and beyond with descriptive detail and all this stuff like that. But as long as it's mentioned, as long as it has a reference, or you can use it as a reference, then excuse me about that. If you can use it as a reference, then yeah, you can use it as a reference. So that's pretty much what he was saying. I mean, did I unpause it? Did I pause it? It's still going. I'm gonna pause the video, see what you say. Okay, so something I noticed off the bat when he did mention about the setup here, his character, well, even though this is an example, his character is scanning the area around him. The man was paranoid, okay? He keeps himself against the wall, almost touching it. His hand fidgets with a sturdy steel pen at his pocket, and he clicks it frantically. So if he's trying to, I understand the idea of doing these things to incorporate it in the next post, but if he is going to incorporate it in the next post, like, what is the reason that his character is paranoid? I mean, you could just say that it's paranoia, but like, I guess that's the justification that he's paranoid. Say in emotes, as there's usually a lot of people in one scene, the purpose is to write densely and efficiently, and those platforms generally only allow 50 characters. Well, I know that this is not to say it like that, but this is the whole point of turn-based logic, or the turn-based logic that I wrote down. Even though turn-based logic is just a term that's used to express a form of T1. You know, you see it all the time. It's turn-based combat, turn-based fighting, and then recently turn-based logic. So it's pretty much just just the name or expression of T1. However, this expression is usually used to express this form of combat back in the day, because there was no standard roleplay fighting, type of fighting that we do now. You know, when you have to explain everything, you have to, pretty much be precise in every type of step, every detail, and and what follows with wiki links and stuff like that. You didn't have to do that back in the day because you couldn't. The character limit wasn't that much, so you had to write densely. You had to write concisely. Is that any word? you had to write. You had to summarize things when you was writing. You couldn't just go berserk. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that. So I mean, I pretty much get it. I mean, it's not much to understand, but for you guys, if you guys didn't know, emote was just a. He also mentioned how it was used in World of Warcraft chat, like chat rooms for like multi gaming stuff. Uh, he was doing it in that. So I guess that's where it came from, or that's part of where it came from. I don't know. But that's what he was mentioning, and yeah, that's what he was mentioning. So I'm gonna just pause the video right now and see. Yeah. All right, so let me see what it says. So that which I just typed would be something I might just wait. That which I just typed would be something I might type just entering the scene where hostile players are located. Okay, so there we go. It did explain. Like, what the heck are you doing? He just come out of nowhere, just paranoid, like, hugging the wall, like, looking around, like, why are you doing this out the blue? So he said he might be doing this, okay. So this is because people emote like to jump each other from there in those platforms, which only allow a few characters at a time. You can keep going until finally someone initiates contact. This is a typical opening set for watching your back. As the scene progresses, you layer things on top of that to justify contingencies, etc. That's interesting because that makes perfect sense. However, I don't remember doing that. Like, I don't remember doing that at all. I mean, that's interesting. That is interesting. I forgot about that. I forgot about that as needed, and this guy would be really helpful for turn-based logic and stuff like that, because that is a very critical component. Like, say you in a room, whatever, right? You just in the room. You say, I enters the room, I sit down, and someone does his attack. Because everyone is in the room, you could just be doing nothing, and then you could, I noticed their attack. Like, from where? Where did you notice it from? Like, where did it come from? You don't know where it came from. Like, we don't know. Unless the person says, I tag you from behind, but it's still like where and how did you, like? So it's good that you do write some type of form of being alert when you're entering this open world setting. That is a very good point to mention. As the scene progresses, you layer things on top of that to justify. Okay, I read that already. See, and that was also something that I've learned during those turn-based logic days, was adding stuff. So I would pretty much, like, and it's also like a nugget from the pataphysical, like, I forgot the pataphysical level of virtual warfare training. This is something I wanted to share, but pretty much is that I would like write out an attack, and I would pretty much just like name the attack, or just say the previous attack that I did. So I make an attack and then just simplify it, and then build on that simplified version of it, so it could be like I explain all the detail about how to do a dragon punch, and then I name it, and then on my next turn, whatever, I said I do the dragon punch, but in that, I do other things. So I know that's not exactly what he's talking about. He's just talking about building, like prepping, I think. So I imagine roleplay fighting similar, but T1 in terms of word count, time must be handled differently. But what was setting up 3 attacks look like? So, I mean, it would look the same, but it's just you would just have to write it out. You know what I'm saying? You would just have to write it out. It's in the same details that we'll be fighting mandates participants to write it in. So right. So pretty much, yeah. That's also true. I mean, what's the point of doing 3 attacks if your opponent is just going to interrupt the first one? He's going to interrupt before you even attack, before you even think about it. He's going. Before you even think about it, he's going to interrupt. Like, what interruption? Like, what? Like, I didn't even start yet. Like, what are you talking about? You know, I've seen someone do that. I've seen many people do that before. Like, I forgot what it was, like, how it was, but I forgot how it was. I think I mentioned in the video somewhere, but I have, I think I did something, but he was like, I interrupted or I blocked. I'm like, bro, like, I didn't even do the attack yet. Like, how can you interrupt something that didn't happen yet? And so this was when I was in ARG. But he says, so if you're able to justify just being that much faster or having that much of an advantage by posting, then you only then able to join 3 track. I'm a solo typer, so I gotta pause. I type in it sucks. All right, so pretty much, yeah, that's what I said. I mean, what else can I say? So you can do as many as you want in roleplay fighting, but it is pointless. This is why people bank on hypotheticals instead of consecutive attacks. Virtually, they are pretty much the same. One is just narrated in a way that is expected to happen, while the other is happening intentionally. So either or, both can be interrupted equally. So I mean, they enter the system pretty much the same way. You know, one is just being expressed in a different way. If someone uses a hypothetical, they are planning to do this attack, but the attack never happened. Nonetheless, this attack or this type of formation of words or dynamics is still being used to portray an action that is expected to happen or that is planning to happen or whatever the case may be. However, when you're using an attack, when you're expressing it narrating as in an attack, you're saying that this type of dynamics or these elements of physicality is planning to happen or is trying to act intentionally into the system. So no matter how you look at it, both are being implemented rather out of a consequence or out of a direct, like, deliberate expression. So either or, they're both going to happen. So it doesn't matter if you do 3 attacks or 1,000 attacks or hypotheticals or 1,000 hypotheticals. It still pretty much end up the same, because either people are going to interrupt it or they're going to block it and then counter or whatever. So you never really get that far anyway. But it's different with turn-based logic, and you can just pretty much like simulate combo attacks and stuff like that. So it's more fun, and it's easier, and it's simple, and it's awesome. I like that type of fighting. It's lax on the mind. It's fast paced. Not fast paced. You gotta hurry up, but it's the writing is fast because it's simple. And see what he said. He said, yeah, got it. Many times people will count on the hypotheticals and write a ton of details, but their entire strategy fell apart because their first condition was never met, and they'll die instantly or worse. Sounds familiar? I guess. I mean, yeah. I mean, what else is there to say? I mean, of course, it does sound familiar. I mean, let me see if I can think about somebody that happened. Well, I just recently had to fight with the Ghost Rider dude. It was kind of similar to what he's saying. It's basically where I saw a distinction, but it seems like these systems are all essentially from the same thought logic turn-based. Right, that's true. But one system is based off of pretty much explaining everything. And it's interesting because, yeah, this is another topic. It's pretty much explaining everything. I'm going to have to make this a 2-part series. 15 minutes is good enough. No. So it's good at, one is explaining everything. Like every detail is just being explained. While the other is just making references of those things where if you're not aware, or just aware of it, you would catch those details. Like he was saying, like he was he was paranoid. So that can play a big part in him, or explaining why he's looking around. While he's looking around, he'll be able to see attacks that's coming from behind him, whatever, So that's a pretty good narrative to explain your next action. But you can just say that. You can just say these things, and as a roleplay fighter, and then it still suffice. You can detail these things. You don't gotta say, you don't gotta hint it. You could just say it, and then it would still suffice. It says with varying word count and literacy standards, plus other logic-based regulations based on real-life fantasy and narrative of a game, the setting, etc. Alright, let me pause this real quick. When he's still going, I'm gonna make this 2-part series, I guess. Stay tuned for part 2.